For years, the football establishment looked down on African teams. They loved to praise our flair and athleticism. But let's be honest, it was just a patronizing compliment. The unspoken rule was always the same. Africa has talent, but they don't have the tactical discipline to win when it matters. The 2026 World Cup didn't just break that rule. It burnt it completely and threw the ashes right back in their faces. What we saw in this tournament wasn't a fluke. And it's not just a couple of emotional underdog stories, neither. This is the moment the balance of power permanently shifted. You can quote me on this. The days of Europe and South America comfortably dominating international football are over. But Africa isn't coming to take over anymore. We are already here, sitting with them at the head of the table. And the traditional giants are terrified of prospects of the future. Some critics are already rushing to claim this was a poor World Cup for Africa because our teams fell along the way. But that is a lazy narrative pushed by an old guard terrified of change. And change is inevitable. They are completely blinding themselves to the fact that we earned a historic presence in the knockout rounds, launching Morocco, Senegal, Egypt, and Cape Verde deep into the tournament. Yes, Morocco were eliminated by France in the quarterfinals, but they put up a magnificent fight. They stood toe-to-toe with the top favorites, totally outclassing Brazil along the way. By the time you watch this analysis to the very end, which I advise you to do, you will understand exactly why the tactical maturity, the fearless depth, and the sheer discipline showed by our 10 representatives proves this tournament was the ultimate declaration of African dominance. African teams played completely at par against every single opposition they faced, except for Tunisia.
Oliseh, what a goal!
Now let's look at the actual facts because the numbers don't lie. For the first time, the World Cup expanded to 48 teams, giving Africa 9 direct spots and a playoff chance. A chance grabbed with both hands by the African continent as DR Congo qualified. For decades, Africa was completely choked out by unfair math. Just think about how ridiculous it was. Europe, for example, with a population of 700 million people, regularly sent 13 to 16 teams to the World Cup. While an entire continent of 1.6 billion people, more than twice the population of Europe, the absolute engine of global football talent, was stopped with just 5 slots at best. Because of that bottleneck, elite and incredibly disciplined African teams were forced to watch the tournament from home on television. But in 2026, with 10 African countries on the pitch, the world finally sees our true depth. It's no longer about 1 or 2 heavyweights. Having 10 teams changes the entire dynamic of the tournament. It means European and South American giants are forced to face elite African tactical systems over and over again. Argentina ran into 3 of them, and except for Algeria, struggled big time against Cape Verde and Egypt. It is finally a fair reflection of the population and raw talent. But why did this dominant finally click so fast in 2026? It comes down to globalization. Look at how the entire landscape of the tournament has mutated. 30 years ago, an African player like myself had to move to a top European club early just to learn tactical systems, low block defending, and pressing triggers. We had to go to Europe to learn the secrets of the game. Today, globalization has completely leveled the playing field. The academies in Lagos, Dakar, Casablanca, Cairo, and Abidjan teach the exact same high-level tactics you find in London or Paris, if not even better at times. On top of that, the brain drain has flipped. Players born in Paris, London, or Brussels, who grew up in the most expensive academic systems in the world, are choosing their ancestral countries as their first choice now, not as a backup plan anymore. For example, France's World Cup sensation, Désiré Doué, represents France, while his older brother, Guela Doué, plays in international football for Côte d'Ivoire. Who would have thought of that some years ago? The European federations are losing their minds watching elite talent pack their bags for home. Now look at Cape Verde in this tournament. A tiny island nation of just 600,000 people built on immigration. They went into Group H, completely shocked the world by holding European champions Spain to a goalless draw and produced an absolute classic in the knockouts against the reigning world champions, Argentina. They have more players born in Rotterdam than in their own capital city of Praia. Yet, they moved as one unbreakable unit. Cape Verde didn't show up for the knockouts with stress. They showed up with absolute tactical excellence. They took the absolute titans of South American football to the wire in Miami, drawing level twice. De Rua Duarte squeezed home a shock equalizer, and then Sidney Lopez Cabral scored an absolute contender for goal of the tournament in the 103rd minute of extra time, turning the entire stadium into silent onlookers. It took an agonizing deflected own goal in the 111th minute for Argentina to scrape a 3-2 win. Cape Verde didn't just compete. Their 40-year-old goalkeeper, Vozinha, made 8 spectacular saves, frustrating Messi all night long, and proving that age is just a number when you have that much steel in your veins. Now look, I know what some of you are thinking. Oliseh, you are talking about tactical maturity and discipline, but did you not see how we let massive advantages slip away? Did you not see Senegal go 2-up against Belgium in the round of 32, only to let Lukaku and Tielemans drag them to extra time and steal it with a 125th minute penalty? Did you not see Egypt up 2-0 on Argentina in the second half, completely dominant, before the world champions had to fight with absolute everything they had just to beat them 3-2 in the final 11 minutes of the game? Trust me, I saw it. My hair didn't turn gray by accident, and my blood pressure is still recovering, believe me. But let's be completely real and honest with our analysis here. Conceding under heavy pressure or suffering a late concentration lapse isn't an African disease. It is just football. Argentina led France 2-0 at the FIFA World Cup in the final in Qatar, only for France to come back to a 3-3. And if not for a miraculous save by Emiliano Martinez, the goalkeeper of Argentina, France could have won it in extra time. The profound difference in 2026 is that our teams didn't get outclassed or tactically bamboozled, except for Tunisia, who seemed to be struggling with some internal crisis. Senegal and Egypt systematically dismantled Belgium and Argentina for 80 minutes. They set traps, they executed patterns, and they forced the Giants to look completely ordinary. Just look at the massive fight Egypt gave to Argentina before being beaten 3-2. That game is still controversially being discussed as we speak. They forced the world champions to play at the absolute limit just to escape. Yes, their final execution of managing a lead under pressure still needs work, and we must look in the mirror and improve that final 10% as quick as possible. But the framework is finally equal. This absolute lack of fear didn't just appear out of nowhere in 2026. It has history. It has pioneers who stepped up when the world refused to take us seriously. To understand how we broke the psychological chains, we have to remember 1990 in Italy, the opening game of the FIFA World Cup. Cameroon walked into the San Siro Stadium in Milan to face world champions Argentina, led by the legendary Diego Maradona. Some believe he's the greatest player to ever play football. On paper, it was supposed to be a stroll for the champions Argentina. Instead, the indomitable Lions played with a raw intensity and physical defiance that completely stunned Argentina and the world, let's face it. Even after going down to 9 men, Francois Oman-Biik rose into the Milan sky, and I think he stayed up there for 3 seconds to score that legendary header. Cameroon didn't just win 1-0. They marched all the way to the quarterfinals, proving to the entire planet that African football was a sleeping giant. And now it is awake. Now, 12 years later in 2002, Senegal did this again. It was the opening match of the tournament in Seoul, South Korea. They faced France, the reigning world and European champions at the time, a team stacked with absolute superstars, including the legendary Zinedine Zidane. Senegal didn't show an ounce of intimidation. Marshaled by Papa Bouba Diop, they tactically choked France out of the game. Let's not forget, we lost Diop in 2020. May his blessed soul rest in peace. When Diop scored that iconic winning goal and the team danced around the corner flag, it wasn't just a celebration. It was a total demolition of the old hierarchy by Senegal. Senegal went on to repeat Cameroon's feat by reaching the quarterfinals in their very first World Cup. But while Cameroon and Senegal proved we could pull off giant killings, it was Nigeria in the 1990s that built the psychological foundation of absolute equality. In 1994, the Super Eagles stepped onto the pitch in America and changed how the world looked at African football forever. We didn't play like happy guests who were just glad to be invited. We played like we owned the stadium, and frankly, we behaved like they too. We had this incredible physical presence combined with a confident skill level that completely tore apart the rigid defense blocks of the opposition. Yes, we just believed it. Then came 1998 in France. Now picture the stadium in Nantes. Spain came into that match as massive title favorites. They hadn't lost a game in years, and I repeat, in years they hadn't lost a game. The world expected an easy European win for Spain. Now, Nigeria didn't care about the names on the jerseys. When Spain took the lead, the Super Eagles didn't panic or lose shape. We locked in. Infinity George, JJ Okocha, Victor Ikpeba, Taribo West, and my humble self, just to mention a few, we believed we were equal to the task, if not even better than them. We matched them tactically, outmuscled them physically, and caught them on the break. Then came the defining moment of pure defiance in the 78th minute. People have asked me so much to talk about this. A cleared ball dropped outside the box, and I didn't hesitate. And God crowned my efforts big time. I launched it right past Zubizarreta into the near post. Now, I hit it so hard, I think the net is still shaking today. Just joking. That 3-2 victory didn't just knock a title favorite out of the World Cup. It shattered a massive psychological barrier, which we are enjoying today. That goal and that tournament cemented the fact that European giants were not untouchable. They are beatable. It showed that when an African team plays with absolute tactical focus and zero inferiority complex, the giants bleed just like anyone else. Nigeria proved it wasn't a fluke by winning the Olympic gold in Atlanta in 1996, beating both Brazil and Argentina back-to-back. That wasn't just a youth tournament win. It was a geopolitical statement. It showed every young kid across Africa that the historical titans of football could be beaten on the world's biggest stage. Fast forward to 2022. Morocco took that foundational Nigerian fearlessness and turned it into a hyper-organized and modern defensive machine, becoming the first African nation to reach a World Cup semifinals. And in this 2026 World Cup, they seamlessly powered their way right back into the quarterfinals. Even though they were eliminated by France, the way they played, the discipline they showed, and the sheer fight they put up proved that the gap no longer exists. They didn't do it by playing naive, wide-open football. They did it by choking the life out of European heavyweights with world-class discipline. Which brings us right back to what we are seeing in 2026. The big difference now is that Morocco's tactical blueprint has spread to all 10 African representatives. The fact that we are now commanding games, playing at par against every single opposition, and putting the traditional powers in positions of absolute panic proves the naive days are completely gone. The old stereotype from the past that African teams are just talented but flawed is officially dead, thank God. The world has to get used to this new reality. When you give an inherently talented, completely confident continent 10 spots to show what they can do, the old guard loses its grip on the game. And that's what has happened. Cameroon and Senegal showed we could break the door down. Nigeria's run in 1994, 1996, and 1998 built the psychological foundation. Morocco's 2022 run provided the modern tactical blueprint. And this 2026 World Cup is the final execution. The playing field is completely flat now. No matter what happens in a single isolated knockout tie, or how much luck a European side might find on a given night, the structural truth cannot be undone. Nobody wants to draw an African nation anymore because everyone finally sees the truth. We aren't begging for a seat at the table anymore. We are now candidates to own it. That wraps up today's breakdown on the new football order of global football. Now make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Right now, it costs you nothing. So you never miss an episode of deep tactical analysis on unfiltered truths. Have you hit the subscribe button? This is Global Football Insights with Oliseh. See you on the next one, and thanks for watching.